Order. This is a closed session of the City Council. Could I get a roll call, please?
Yes, Councilmember Narenheim. Here. Councilmember Lowenstein is absent. Councilmember Keller-Jedovich. Here. Councilmember Obaji.
Here.
Councilmember Barron.
Here.
Mayor Light.
Here. Okay, do we have any blue folder items for a closed session?
None for closed session.
Okay, thank you. Any public communications on closed session items and non-agenda items? Nobody's in the audience. Anybody online or any e-comments?
We do not have any Zoom attendees, and there are no e-comments for closed session.
Okay, would you mind reading off what we'll be talking about in closed session?
Sure. As authorized by the government code and on the published agenda, the following items will be discussed in closed session. Items F1 through F8 are on the title conference with legal counsel existing litigation. For F1, the name of the case is Harry Stuver et al. Versus Redondo Beach Police Department, City of Redondo Beach, and those 1 through 100 inclusive. Case number BC 461376. For item F2, the name of the case is Yes in My Backyard, a California nonprofit corporation, Sandra Trout, an individual, versus City of Redondo Beach, City Council of the City of Redondo Beach, City of Redondo Beach Department of Community Development, and those 1 through 25 inclusive. Case number 23TRC P00325. For F3, the name of the case is City of Redondo Beach et al. Versus California State Water Resources Control Board, case number 20STC P03193. For item F4, the name of the case is New Community TLA LLC and Leonid Postonikov versus City of Redondo Beach and City Council of the City of Redondo Beach, case number 22TRC P00203. For item F5, the name of the case is New Community TLA LLC versus City of Redondo Beach, City Council of the City of Redondo Beach, City of Redondo Beach Department of Community Development, et al., case number 23STC P00426. For item F6, the name of the case is New Community TLA LLC versus City of Redondo Beach, City Council of the City of Redondo Beach, and those 1 through 100 inclusive, case number 23STC V10146. For item F7, the name of the case is 9300 Wilshire LLC versus City of Redondo Beach, City Council of the City of Redondo Beach, City of Redondo Beach Department of Community Development, and those 1 through 100 inclusive, case number 23STC P02189. For item F8, the name of the case is in regards to 9300 Wilshire LLC, bankruptcy, City Cal case number 223-BK-10918-ER. Items F9 and F10 are under the title Conference with Legal Counsel, Anticipated Potential Litigation. For item F9, there's 1 potential case. For item F10, there's 1 potential case. And item F11, under the title Conference with Real Property Negotiator, the property is 422 South PCH, APN 7508-020-026. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Witsansky, who will be speaking to these items in closed session.
Yes, Mayor. For all items, myself and Assistant City Attorney Cheryl Park, for items F1 through F9, Mike Webb, our City Attorney, will participate. In addition to those 3 individuals, for item F1, we will be joined by W. Lee Smith, outside legal counsel. For items F2 through F8, we will be joined by John Wellner and Abby O'Brien, outside legal counsel. W. Lee Smith will also join us for item F9. And then that's it. For items F10 and F11 will be in-house counsel only. I might have missed it, but point of order, did we do roll call to
Yeah.
open the meeting? I'm sorry, I missed that. Thank you.
Try to stay tuned here. I know it's difficult.
I appreciate that. I so clearly was daydreaming. Yes, thank you.
Could I get a motion to recess to closed session?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, all for?
Aye.
Okay, we will be recessing the closed session. We will be back on or about 6 o'clock. Thank you. please.
Councilmember Nierenheim. Here. Councilmember Lowenstein, absent. Councilmember Kalujevic. Here. Councilmember Obaji.
Here.
Councilmember Barrett.
Here.
Mayor Light.
Here. Let's see, do we have anything to report, City Manager?
None this evening, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second, all for it?
Aye.
Okay. With that, I'm going to call the open session of the regular meeting of the City Council to order. Could I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Nierenheim.
Here.
Councilmember Lowenstein, absent. Councilmember Kalujevic.
Here.
Councilmember Obaji.
Here.
Councilmember Barrett.
Here.
Mayor Light.
Here. Okay, if we have any veterans or active duty military in the audience, please stand to be recognized for your service. Anybody? Okay, well, we'll go on then. With that, let us all stand for the salute to the flag and remain standing for a moment of silence. I'd like to call up Lola, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Hi, Lola. The floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Lola. I am a third grader at Alta Vista Elementary School. My favorite subject in school is reading. I love my friends in Redondo Beach. Please put your hand over your heart and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now if you could remain standing for a moment of silent invocation, please. Okay, thank you. You can be seated. Lola, why don't you come on up here? Well done. You did really good, Lola.
Thank you for coming.
Great.
We got a smile? Awesome. Well done. We just smile?
For the picture, you can smile.
There you go.
Now turn around, we'll get a picture.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Oh my God, he's so cute.
Okay, thanks, Lola.
Thanks, Lola.
You did great. Okay, can I get let's see. We have no presentations or proclamations tonight. Any announcements? Councilmember Nierenheim.
I had a great community meeting this weekend, very lively. We went about a good half hour late. I want to thank our city manager for working overtime for an hour, coming down to Alta Vista. It was awesome to have you there. People really enjoyed it. A lot of questions. Lively group, good 20, 50, 25 or so plus people there. And Klatch Coffee provided the coffee and pastry. So it was really cool. Thank you to them. Big shout out to them. And I dedicated my community meeting on Saturday and last night actually as well, my online community meeting, to a neighbor of ours on Avenue E, Lou Leong. He was 92 years old, just passed away recently. He was the smile of the city, or of Avenue E. And as his son Brendan said, City of Redondo Beach lost a lot of money because of him, because every day at sweet sweeping, 9 o'clock, he'd be 8:55, he'd be out there knocking on doors, getting all the neighbors move their cars. He just had that infectious smile, making everyone happy and just taking care of the neighborhood, always outside, very happy, married to his lovely wife of Kate, 53 years, Hawaiian, worked TWA mechanic there for many years, so he'll be missed. Let's see. Upcoming events, we have a lot of events coming up, both Riviera Village and I'll take care of Councilmember Lowenstein here. We have the K9 on this Saturday, demonstration, safety fair from 1 to 3, and then demonstration from 3 to 5 at the high school, right up the street up here. And then next week, we have the Medal of Valor dinner at the King Harbor Yacht Club. Starts at 5:30. Come on down. It's $40. Come on, it's dinner. It's great stories, great heroic stories. Excuse me, and of all the lifeguards and other public safety. And then International Surf Festival, which is the following weekend, next weekend. And then that weekend as well, we have the sidewalk sale for Riviera Village. And come on down for that. It's really cool to see all the vendors putting out all their stuff outside on the sidewalks and selling away. It's a real big event, big, huge sales. And it'll be fun to see that again. And they do it every summer. And the last thing I have is Rotary Club down in the harbor is celebrating, starting the planning for their celebration for 100 years. Rotary is 100 years old in the United States. And we have Rotary Club here in Redondo. And they are at the King Harbor Cantina on Thursday evening. And they'll be planning, invited for that as well. Thank you. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Kalajevic.
Yes, so yeah, just to jump on that, Rotary in Redondo Beach has been here for 100 years, making all kinds of contributions, and they will be celebrating that, and that's super exciting. I will be at the K9 demo. My kids love that event. It's really cool. And last other event that wasn't mentioned was the Pride Paddle and Lunch at the King Harbor Yacht Club on Sunday. It starts at 11:30. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Obaji.
All right, thank you. El Tarasco will have its grand opening with mariachi this Friday, I believe from 4 to 6 p.m. Pretty awesome. This last
On
Saturday.
Artesia.
Yes, on Artesia Boulevard, sorry, yes. It's Artesia and Felton, I believe. This last Saturday, I got to play pickleball with Hai Tran and David Gallacy. Invited me out, pretty cool. No, that was Saturday morning. Sunday morning, pickleball is not allowed at Perry Park. And I've heard that there are still people playing. I will be down there to enforce that. If you don't listen to me, I will call the police. No pickleball Sunday mornings at Perry Park. Wear sunscreen. That's it. Thanks.
Hey, Councilmember Barrett.
None this week, Mayor.
Okay, I have two. First, Beach Life Grotto in the Village had its soft opening this weekend and will open up tomorrow for real. And I actually have a reservation there for my 25th anniversary with my wife, so we'll be testing it out. And then the Harbor Patrol, I just wanted to mention this past week, we had a training, search and rescue training hosted by King Harbor Yacht Club, which we appreciated the offer by King Harbor Yacht Club. And they've already put that training to work. There was a missing diver reported off the beach, and fortunately they found him safe and sound. But there were two other safety incidents in the harbor this past week. One, unfortunately, a gentleman passed away. It appeared he had a cardiac arrest while kayaking. And let's see, the other one was, I'm sorry?
There was a pacemaker issue, kind of
Yeah,
a potential
pacemaker
drowning
issue
where
off the
we
dock.
rescued two individuals
Guy
who
fell
were
in the water
stuck
and-
in the water, yeah.
Yep, and Harbor Patrol helped extricate them, and fire department got him to the hospital. So just shows the value of our Harbor Patrol. It was a busy week, and their training has already been put to good use. So appreciate all they're doing out there. And that's it for me. So next, let's see, item E, approve order of agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the order of the agenda?
Motion approved. Order.
Second.
Okay, a motion, a second, all for it?
Aye.
Okay, that carries. Do we have any blue folder items?
Yes, Mayor. For J1 on agenda items, public communications, and one related to the Article 27 of the Redondo Beach City Charter, Article 27, mayor changes in allowable land use, redlined, and P1 regarding to psilocybin mushrooms, an article from 60 Minutes. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, jumping down to consent calendar, does any member of the council wish to pull anything on the consent?
We need to approve the blue folder items.
Motion to receive the blue folder items.
Yep.
Second.
Motion and a second, all for it?
Aye.
So that's three, we have one absent. Okay, consent calendar, would anybody like to pull something on anything on the consent calendar? Councilmember Narenheim,
I do not.
Councilmember Kalajevic,
No, thank you.
Councilmember Obaji.
None. Thank you.
Okay, so we will consider them in mass. Would any member of the public wish to address any of the consent calendar items? Okay, nobody here present in the audience. Anybody online?
No one on Zoom and no one on e-comments.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar items?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all for it?
Aye.
Okay, that's a 4-0.
Okay, I'm going to read H5, adopt by title only ordinance number 3273-24, an ordinance of the City of Redondo Beach, California, amending Title 3, Chapter 6, Section 3-6.03 of the Redondo Beach Municipal Code pertaining to parking meter hourly rates, second reading and adoption. H6, adopt the second amendment to the agreement with McKay Meters, Inc. for the installation of parking meter equipment at a cost of $86,721 and to extend the term of the contract through November 15, 2025. H8, adopt by title only resolution number CC-2407-058, a resolution of City Council of the City of Redondo Beach, California, proclaiming Sunday, September 8, 2024, as Open Water Swim Day in the City of Redondo Beach in sponsorship and support of the 6th Annual Swim the Avenues Water Sports Event to be held in the City of Redondo Beach coastal waters, and in appreciation of the County of Los Angeles efforts to permit the event and provide logistical support. H9, adopt by title only ordinance number 3272-24, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Redondo Beach, California, repealing section 2-9.201 through 2-9.303 and sections 2-9.1101 through 2-9.1203 of the Redondo Beach Municipal Code regarding the Historical Preservation, Library, and Recreation and Parks Commission, and adding sections 2-9.1501 through 2-9.1503 regarding the Consolidated Public Amenities Commission for second reading and adoption. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll be moving to public participation on non-agenda items. This section is intended for the public to have the opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on this agenda for action. The section will be limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to address the mayor and council, and each speaker will only be permitted to speak once. With that, I do have one card, David Rosenfeld.
Is this how you move this up?
Yes. Just get on your knees.
I've heard that before. How's it going, everyone? Nice to see you and be here, Mayor and Council. David Rosenfeld. I was born and raised in Redondo Beach, and as some of you know, I was a reporter for the Beach Reporter and the Daily Breeze for about 5 years. During that time, I developed a passion for Redondo's history. I'm going to move this up a little bit more. And I was looking for a writing project and something to do, and I developed a audio tour, a self-guided historical audio tour of the waterfront. And so I'm promoting that tonight, and this Saturday I'll be leading an in-person tour at 9 a.m. starting at Moonstone Park, and the tour is about 1.5 miles, and it goes from Moonstone Park to Veterans Park. And I cover a lot of interesting things. It was, a lot of fun for me to do. I learned a lot. I knew a lot about Redondo history going into it, but this, I did a lot more research and nailed a lot of things down. During my reporting, I used to consult with Pat Ost, so he was a great source of historical information. And I think for me personally, it just brought a lot of pride to our hometown, and to know how important Redondo Beach was in the founding of Los Angeles. I don't know if y'all know this, but between about 1890 and 1910, it was the preferred shipping port for Los Angeles. So that's where all the lumber came in. Redondo had 3 piers from 1888 to 1904 they were built. We had, these grand, beautiful buildings. One of the things, when I look at our waterfront now, I think of how much promise it has, and I really look forward to the future that we can put into our harbor, because, back in the day, it was such a prideful place. It was so beautiful, and they had these great big buildings. I think you've all heard of the Plunge and the Pavilion and the Casino, and these were the 3 majestic buildings that really defined the waterfront, that were big and beautiful, built in mission style, and they spent a lot of money. Well, they are at the site of where our parking structure is now, basically in the middle of the Horseshoe Pier. And above it, of course, is this defunct property that has been just a ghost town for as long as I can remember. 40 years. We've done absolutely almost nothing with this area. So I don't know if it's ever going to be in the cards for that to be redeveloped, but it's just nice and somewhat depressing to think about, what used to be here. So hopefully that, you guys will be interested in taking them. So I'd like to maybe submit these flyers, and I want to put these flyers around town, so I'm trying to get with like the Library Commission or the Historical Commission or something to help promote it, so.
Motion received and
Get your
filed.
help to
Second.
help promote it.
All for it?
Thank you.
Aye.
Maybe.
Do you have an electronic version of that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is. So there's a QR code here, and this actually, it's through, I forgot to mention this, it's an app called Voice Map. And you go to this, that's how you get to the app. And so it's all self-guided on your phone.
Oh, wow.
Well, thanks for doing that, Dave.
Thank you,
That's
guys. Thank you.
fantastic. I cherish our history as well, so appreciate that.
You can come to my next community meeting and bring that and talk about it as well. And FYI, the Pier Plaza is producing a ton of revenue for the city of Redondo Beach. It's a lot of, yeah. It is, a ton.
Okay, anyone else wish to address the council? That was the only card.
What? Quietly.
Okay, anybody? Oh,
Very quietly.
are you coming down or?
Robin Eisenberg, but if we're going by names of what we last had for dinner, I also refer to myself as Portcullo, Maine. You get that in the record. Anyway, it's a kind of public service announcement for the Marine Mammal Care Center. They, as you all know, they take care of the injured marine mammals, and just wanted to invite you all Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, between 11 and 4. Bring your kids, bring your nephews, bring your cats and dogs. You can throw them into the pools, I guess, if you want. Feeding time is at 11 o'clock. You can symbolically adopt a sea lion there, and just remember, adopt, don't shop when it comes to sea lions. It's very important. By the way, also, I didn't get a chance to say Shakespeare in the Park was wonderful. As a former English major who basically lived on Cliff Notes, I thought it was great, but I have to be honest, the first one I went to, I thought it was Shake Shack in the park, so that's why I went. But I stayed, and it was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council? Okay, anybody online?
Yes, I have one on Zoom. Joan Irvine.
Hi, Joan Irvine, District 1, Mayor, City Council members, city staff, people in the audience, and people who are listening to this. I just want to bring up once again to the topic of cannabis dispensary legalizations. It's been over 2 months since this has been come back as an agenda item, and to the asking when will it be coming back, because the sooner we have dispensaries, the sooner we'll have additional revenue in our city. So I know you can't answer me, but I would hope to be hearing about it on hopefully the next agenda, next week's agenda, or the week after that. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online?
We have one e-comment. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. So now we will move to item N1, discussion and possible further direction to staff regarding drafting an amendment to Article 27 or Measure DD of the city charter. City Attorney Webb.
Sure. There you go.
So, and we'll have Cheryl Park is here and Diana Verrett, our outside counsel on many housing matters. She's one of 2 people who is outside that is handling, in addition to my office, the lawsuit regarding the housing element challenge. So as you know, there's a challenge by an individual who alleged that the city's housing element is not compliant. And in a perverse argument, he argued that because of Article 27, which was put in place by Measure DD, we didn't have a housing element to send to HCD for them to certify. That it had to go to them, it had to go to the voters before it went to HCD, which would have meant, in this case, there would have been 3 elections before it could ever go to HCD, because they made 3, it was changes until the council approved it the 3rd time. So perversely, he's arguing that we don't have the housing element, therefore Billard's remedy applies. And he's arguing that a charter amendment that was designed with the specific intent of giving residents more of a say in major changes in allowable land use should give them no say, or give their representatives no say. And the judge shut down all the arguments, but when it came to Article 27, he argued, he held that the only reason that it didn't need to go to the voters, either at the housing element, draft housing element stage, or at the zoning, the implementing zoning stage, was that it's preempted by state housing law. And Article 27 does have a provision that they don't apply to the extent to which they violate state law. But it's, we've recommended that for clarity, the council put an amendment before the voters to ensure that that everyone knows what is exempted by state law. At your April 2nd meeting, you gave direction to me to draft language that it would exempt from Article 27's ambit housing elements passed by the city council and enacting legislation so they don't have to go to the vote of the people, and consistent with comments from the mayor, a sunset clause, and we'll talk more about that, which will give greater protection to the voters when we're no longer preempted by the state because of the housing crisis in the state. This amendment that we propose will do that. It also, based on subsequent comments by the mayor, changes the requirement that ballot materials be mailed to all voters to made available, and I'll ask the mayor to talk about the technological state of information sharing that existed at the time that Article 27 Measure DD was written. And then finally, there were, I think, at the time, there was a loss of version control, and there were some typos, and this would, fix the typos and make other non-substantive changes. Before I go on to the next slide, there is in your blue folder, draft 2.0. And I've had several conversations with the mayor, which was appropriate because he was one of 2 proponents of Measure DD, and he's replacing his mayor, the other proponent. And he understood the need to reflect the judgment and clarify which elements are exempt, but he wanted to preserve where it wasn't in response, where it wasn't preempted by state law, the voters' rights. And I'll turn that over to Mayor Light. If you'd like to talk about it or just plug on, you can jump in at any time.
Just keep going, and I'll chime in after your.
All right, so this is the proposed, I'm going to talk about the 3 amendments, the state preemption, the removing the requirement of mail, and the fixing typos. So this is the amendments as a whole, where H would not put the city, it shows the intent of the city, the long-time interpretation of the city, that the draft housing element doesn't have to go to the voters for approval. It's entirely unworkable. The second part, and this is the part that Sunset would reflect the judge's ruling that the implementing ordinances that go along, that are required for the housing element, the modification, the general plan is reflecting in amending its housing element, doesn't need to go to the voters. The red is the language that I've changed. So the initial draft showed that it would be effective until January 1st, 2036. And the reason for that is that's the date that is the most recent iteration of the state legislature signed into law by the governor just last year of SB 423. And that's the government code section that it refers to. And just last year, they extended it from January 1st, 2026 to January 1st, 2036. The mayor and I have a good faith disagreement of opinion as to the likelihood of the state changing course or reversing course. But in case he's right, that we put in, it's the earlier of, if they basically repeal SB 423 ahead of schedule, if they don't wait until January 1st, 2036, then this requirement that the voting changes for the housing element not go to the voters, that will end. That's sooner in time. The other language that I put in is because of his concern over voters having maximum say. And if it's a change that's being made on a policy basis, on a policy preference by a council, then the voters will still have the right to vote on it. Only the ones that are required under the housing element update process or the city's obligations to maintain adequate housing for its RENA allocation, that will be exempt. And I think those adequately protect both interests and show with certainty, as much certainty as we can muster with the state's ever-changing obligations, the things that will go to the voters, because otherwise you could potentially have votes that wouldn't matter. You could have a vote and no matter what the voter said, a court could say, yeah, it doesn't matter because you're preempted by state law. Right. The second requirement is removing mailing. So right now, it talks about the sample ballot materials mailed to the registered voter, and we're changing that to made available. And I think the mayor had previously done a good job of describing, at the time, you couldn't get the information. You'd go on, a modem on a phone line and then perhaps get booted off after half an hour or 45 minutes. Now, there's much more ready access to the materials, and it would be wasteful and not particularly environmentally conscious to mail general plan amendment materials to every voter in Redondo, only a tiny portion of which will ever read it. And so this is simply making changes to Article 27 to reflect changes in technology and availability of information. And then finally, the typo that I'm talking about is you have the major change in allowable land use, and it goes to saying meeting any one or more of the following conditions. And then because of a loss of version control, this peak hour definition was put in the middle of it. If it were an ordinance, we would have fixed it right away. But because it's a charter amendment, you need voter approval and becomes a messier thing. So now is the time, but we're making a change. We should fix it. And it's not strictly needed, but we reorganized the definition status to be in alphabetical order because that's the way virtually all definition sections in our ordinances are, so that if you're looking, you look in alphabetical order. And that's it. And it's simply making the changes to reflect the judge's ruling, to fix replace mailing with made available and fix some typos. And with that, we would be looking for direction if the council wishes to go forward with it for myself and the clerk to bring it back at a council meeting in time to place it on the November ballot, which is the next ballot when a charter amendment could be proposed. And I'm available for questions. Ms. Park and Diana Vera, is she on? Yeah, and so she's available as well if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, City Attorney Webb. So I'm going to speak first as the only remaining original proponent of Measure DD, or Article 27. I thought it's important that I weigh in right from the start. In 2005, 2006, Bill Brand and I worked with our attorney, Frank Angel, to draft what Measure DD, which became Article 27. And the intent was to stop the piecemeal and dramatic upzoning of our city that was occurring at the time and give residents a voice in those major decisions and changes in land use. We realized at the time that that changes may come from the state level that would supersede Measure DD. And so we wrote some generic exemption statements, which City Attorney Webb referred to. Well, now jump forward 18 years and a lot has changed. We have lots of new state law and very recent rulings on related court cases that made it obvious that we need more specificity as to the exemptions that were in the original Article 27 in order to protect the residents' right to weigh in on zoning changes, major changes in zoning for the future as much as possible. Bill realized this and started discussing it with me over a year ago because he was privy to some of this going on where I wasn't. So he discussed it with me, and we both agreed at the time that when the right time came, the exemption clauses needed to be changed and beefed up and more specific, where the community could lose all control, which is the exact opposite of what Measure DD and Article 27 was meant to be. Since becoming mayor, this hit pretty quickly, and I've been working with City Attorney Webb to define the exact wording that we finally came to tonight on those exemptions, while ensuring, as Mike stated, I wanted to ensure there's a strong sunset clause built in there, should the political climate and state housing laws swing back to local control in the future. I appreciate that spirit of collaboration. I know that was a little painful for you, but I appreciate it. And this final version before us tonight was even being worked earlier today. I saw the final draft, and I think it's something we both can support and agree on. I fully support this version of the exemption additions. It's necessary to protect us from losing all control of projects and zoning, and the threats that are represented by state laws such as builder's remedy. As to the made available, when we wrote this, as Mike said, it was difficult to download a document from the city's website. This was 2005, 2006 timeframe when we were going through heart of the city, and I was trying to download it. It literally would take hours because of the bandwidth available, because of the server speeds at the time. And if for some reason that connection got interrupted for any reason, you just start all over again. So it took me days to get all of the documents related to Heart of the City downloaded. And so that was the reason we wanted it all mailed to people. Well, technology has changed. And with this general plan amendment, this would be a thick document that would cost a lot to send out. And as Mike said, I doubt there are many people that would go through it as thoroughly as Bill and I would. I know there's some people out there, but I think we'd be wasting a lot of money. And the technology there today allows you to download much more quickly, and I'm sure the council will also approve putting some hard copies around the city for people who still have bandwidth problems or aren't technologically savvy. And finally, on the typo, we realized as soon as we turned it in, we found our typo error, but it was too late to switch the documents. If you remember back then, there was 2 rounds at this. We failed in our first round to gather enough signatures, and we rushed to turn in a second set, and somehow we got version control messed up in there. A judge read it correctly, so I don't think it was ever a legal issue. But while we're cleaning up the document, adding these exemptions, it's the appropriate time to clean it up so that new people who weren't here when this happened can read it and understand very clearly what was meant by it. So with that, I fully support this. I appreciate the spirit of collaboration and the meeting in the middle on this. I know you'd prefer a little bit cleaner, but I think it's a good middle ground. And with that, I'll open it up to the council for comments. Councilmember Obaji, you're first up.
I just want to thank the mayor and the city attorney for working so hard and diligently to reach a meeting of the minds on this. We needed both your buy-ins to make this successful. So subject to public comment, I'll make a motion to direct the city attorney and city clerk to prepare a ballot measure amending Article 27 consistent with the blue foldered version of the amendments.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'll say something.
You got the floor.
Thank you. I'll just say that regardless of the side of the fence you sit on where in the politics here in Redondo Beach regarding zoning, impacts to zoning, development, ordinances that we pass, everyone agrees that these decisions should be made at a local resident level, right? The impacts are personal because they are literally in your front yard, backyard, side yard, on the way to school, on the way to the beach, on the way to the Performing Arts Center, on the way to work, visiting your neighbors, your friends. I mean, this is what impacts your neighborhoods. And that's why I'll just take this second, the mayor and our city attorney talked for a moment about, regardless of how things might change at the state legislature level. I, for one, think that it's never going to change at the state legislature, not anytime soon at least, because in 2022, I believe around 30% of the state assembly members were brand new. 30%. 30% changeover. And yet here in 2024, we're faced with an attack on our coastal zone, attack on local zoning, greater than ever before. That's why City Attorney Mike Webb was at our Neighborhood Voices for our big fundraiser a while back. Our Neighborhood Voices are going strong. Go to their website, neighborhoodvoices.com. I just gave a presentation the other day to the city of Carpinteria. I'm gonna go up there to Ojai, right next door. They're all on board. And it's because the state legislators are passing these ridiculous laws and the courts are getting involved on something that's very, very, very complicated. It's hard enough for me to explain it to my constituents or my residents in my community meetings. And these conflicting judgments, which we're all winning, by the way, just want to add one more time, we're all winning these these complaints, these lawsuits against us. But the last thing I'll say is that this is costing us a significant amount of money to defend our city from outside influences. These are baseless lawsuits with state legislators behind a lot of these WIMBY new housing and zoning and laws that are moving forward. And WIMBY being Wall Street in my backyard, because it's not, YIMBYs are just, yes, my backyard, but that's not really what it is. It's the Wall Street. It's the large investment groups. There's a concerted effort. It's known. They get paid to do what they do. And yet we at a local level here at Redondo Beach have to pay our attorney, city attorney, our outside firms. We as a group, grassroots level, residents have to come together and form initiatives to defend ourselves. Our Neighborhood Voice is a perfect example. So I really hope this passes with 100% of the vote. I support the motion on the floor. Thank you very much, sir, for taking the time. And it's taken a lot for me to get to the right version. I've talked a lot with Mayor Light about this. I'm very protective over this for a lot of different reasons. And I really appreciate the time and effort. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other member of the council? Okay, any member of the public wish to address this item? I have no cards. Okay, anybody online? And nothing, no e-comments. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. All four?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, that's 4 with 1 absent. Okay, any city manager items? No city manager.
One more, P1?
P1. P1.
P1,
Yeah, but
P2.
city manager items, 0. Oh, I'm following the agenda here. Okay, well, I'm assuming there won't. If not, we'll come back to it. Mayor and council items P1. So that's a discussion and possible action regarding the legal status and possible decriminalization of some kind of mushrooms in this city of Redondo.
Psilocybin. So,
Easy for you
Madam
to say.
Clerk, thank you so much. So at the April 2nd, 2024 City Council meeting, Council directed staff to return with an agenda item to discuss the potential decriminalization of psilocybin mushrooms in the city of Redondo Beach. And we worked with the city attorney's office to prepare this report for you. So psilocybin mushrooms are classified as a Schedule I substance under California law, which means they are illegal to possess, use, sell, or distribute. And this is reflected in several sections of the California Health and Safety Code, which you see on the screen. And we included that as part of your report tonight. We also included a section of the California Penal Code, which speaks to mental health diversion programs, which would allow certain defendants with mental health disorders to receive treatment instead of going through the criminal justice system. And that includes those charged with offenses related to psilocybin mushrooms. And so, and I'm sure the city attorney can speak to this more appropriately, but at the city level, psilocybin mushrooms are not criminalized, so we can't decriminalize them at the city level. What we do is enforce state law. What the city council can do tonight is direct the city's lobbyists to go ahead and pursue decriminalization efforts at the state or federal level. And I don't know if the city attorney Webb wants to add to that at all.
I think she's covered it wonderfully. I don't need, I'm here for questions, but I don't have anything to add.
Wow, that's about the shortest statement I think I've heard from you. Okay. Councilmember Obaji, you have the floor.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So I wanted to agendize this back in April for May because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I've been privy, if you watch 60 Minutes, there was a report on Johns Hopkins University's experimentation with psilocybin mushrooms for treatment of depression and anxiety. And I've heard a lot, if you watch How to Change Your Mind on Netflix, episode 2, also goes into somebody who has extreme OCD, panics about everything in their surroundings, gets this treatment, gets better. And so we have a lot of important things that the state is doing that we need to lobby against. This is important for mental health, but not one of the things that we need to spend money on. I'll say that from the outset. I do see, states like Colorado have moved towards legalization. I think that's eventually where California would like to go, or should go, but I don't think we need to apply resources to that. But what I will say is I would like, in light of our focus on mental health, there's significant research that's come out that has shown the benefits of this type of treatment and the need for further research into what further benefits could evolve from psilocybin treatments. So for example, in Amsterdam, there was a study where they experimented with about 500 patients, and they found that, sorry, if you show 2B, I've blue foldered this. And 333 were, they were used, psilocybin treatment was used on them. 155 of them took a placebo. And the study showed a promise as a treatment for various mental disorders. And the recommendation at the end was further larger scale research. This is all from PubMD or Google Scholar. Another study coming out of from Bradley E. Kahn studied the use of psilocybin-assisted psychotherapy to treat PTSD. And this is post-traumatic stress disorder from either a traumatic violent event, sexual event, you name it. And The trial showed preliminary efficacy in facilitating confronting traumatic memories, decreasing emotional avoidance, depression, anxiety, pessimism, and disconnecting from others, and increasing acceptance, self-compassion, and forgiveness of abusers, all of which are relevant to PTSD recovery. And the conclusion was evidence supports further investigation of psilocybin-assisted psychotherapy as a radically new approach for treating PTSD. And then there's more basically saying the same thing. So what I'd hope to get out of this here tonight is just, I realize that we can't direct, I believe, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. City Attorney, but we can't direct you to not enforce psilocybin mushroom laws against residents or people coming through Redondo Beach. We can't direct the chief of police to not enforce those state laws, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I'd favor at this juncture, subject to any input from anybody else, a motion to prepare a resolution expressing the city council support for further research into psilocybin as a treatment for depression, PTSD, anxiety, pessimism, et cetera, and calling for state laws that advance this critical mental health research, and a cover letter sending the resolution to our assembly member and state senator asking for their support for this research. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Any other member of the council wish to speak to this?
I do. Yeah, I'll speak to it. I'm not logged in for some reason. My password's not working.
Okay, you got the floor.
Thank you. Can you share 1A for me, please, real quick? You know, I want to thank Councilmember Baji for bringing this up for Mental Health Month. And it's, oops, let me get my right thing here. It's something that gets very much overlooked. In addition to, one sec. In addition to what Councilmember Baji said, there's a lot of other states. It's a lot of things moving forward that are far more in depth internationally. This is moving forward, and starting my slideshow from the beginning. Psilocybin and mental health. There's actually a long history of these different compounds. It was first found by a chemist in Switzerland looking to deal with postpartum depression, and was found to be very helpful, and went further research. And then we had the 1960s, and it was more research into depression and traumatic brain injuries. But then with the war on drugs, all of this was unfairly put in a position where it was all taken out. And it's lately come back because we've had so many traumatic wars, Iraq, Afghanistan, sending off our soldiers to fight in foreign lands and come back with significant PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, depression. Switzerland's been doing new studies for end-of-life cancer patients. We've had huge issues with opioid crisis, methamphetamine crisis, alcohol addiction. And it's in other countries, you see here by the slide, Austria, Switzerland, Canada, Israel, they're all doing studies and legalizations. That's only a few, there's plenty more. In the United States alone, states like Texas, Colorado, Oregon, Arizona, Nevada, Illinois, Minnesota, I can go on, you'll have another picture, and as well as cities. I have a bunch of sample cities that have done resolutions, because it has been such a positive aspect for those that are fighting PTSD and trauma and depression, end of life for cancer, for patients that are dealing with it, coming to grasp with what's about facing them. And of course, what people don't talk about, people don't know that this is going to be a $6.85 billion business by 2027. It's only 3 years away from now. These are a couple of quotes that I found. A Swiss law firm, the use of psychotropic substances for medical purposes holds a great medical and economic potential. Texas, Governor Greg Abbott. These compounds are no different than other compounds. It could save lives. That's Texas talking about this. They passed this law just a few years ago. It's Texas, okay? Texas has a very high number of veterans in their state. They're dealing with a lot of PTSD and depressions because of things we've been dealing with societally. Time magazine said FDA has previously granted breakthrough therapy, quote, breakthrough therapy, unquote, status for MDMA and psilocybin. Pausing right there for a second, there was a lot of studies that were happening back in the 60s that were all canned when this was rescheduled to phase one drugs. And now with the new presidencies that have come through, there's a lot of, FDA has been putting a lot of money in very controlled studies. And of course, at Harvard Law School, there's research there. It says U.S. market for psychedelics is projected to reach $6.85 billion by 2027. Mental health. Moving forward, Johns Hopkins, 80% considered their psilocybin experience as one of the top 5 most meaningful experiences in their lives. UCLA and NYU are studying psilocybin treatment, end-of-life anxiety. You can only imagine if you're going through cancer and treatments and you know you have 6 months to live. Canadian federal government has done a lot of exemptions and doing treatments. Of course, we have our own police, fire, and EMT. And our own police, fire, EMT see a significant amount of tragedies. I mean, you can only imagine what they have to deal with and what they see, from kids to adults, right? They're the ones who show up on the scene. When you call 911 and there's an auto accident or something happened in the home, suicide or something, or, what happened to defend other people down the pier area, for instance. Imagine you're half the one who has to defend the public. They have to live with those impacts. And New Zealand did a study with ibogaine, which is a natural substance for opioid dependencies, and they've had huge successes for getting people off of opioids. Mapping psychedelic drugs for policy reform in the United States. These are all the states that have legalization, regulation statutes, working groups, studying medical groups, reduced statutes, legislation that's active. Decriminalization is just happening in cities alone, local government reforms, and funding for research. And you can see across the board, it's not a red state or blue state. It is across the board. It is bipartisan. It is something that all states are working on because of the fact that we have so much mental health and traumatic issues to deal with. Here are some of the resolutions that I looked at, and I think we should model our resolution after moving forward. It's across the country. Yes, Cambridge, Massachusetts, that is Cambridge that's the city that has the school. Once again, this is not a right or left issue. It is coming together, policies, people realizing how it's affecting. There is one more slide, and maybe I missed it. Oh, no, that's it. Okay, so I'll give that to the city clerk. I'll just say that, I think for us at a local level, we deal with a lot of similar things in other communities, and moving forward, I think whatever we can do to help mental health. There is one slide that I'm missing here, and that's the slide that, let me see if I can find it real quick. And this is actually, I think, the most important slide. There it is. All right, from current slide, if you post that for me. This is the suicide rates between men and women. Men currently have the highest suicide rate in more than 50 years. What does that tell you? For women, it's been stable, but it's below the peak of 1970s, what the graph here talks about. This is directly from the CDC. I just think that as the governor from Texas said it right, there's a lot of things in their arsenal to help deal with depression, PTSD, mental health, and this is just one more tool that they're looking at to use, and it's had dramatic effects and positive benefits. And I'll just say that, men get unfairly put in a lot of positions where we're not supposed to have feelings. We can just deal with it and move on. And especially dealing with PTSD and our veterans that come back from foreign wars, they're just said, hey, just reintegrate yourself to the community and you'll be fine. And as we've seen from many movies about incidences that veterans that come back home need to be taken care of. And I think it's important that we set that tone. That's it. So for that, I'd love to take from public comment, pass a resolution. I have a sample resolution I looked at. We can submit that to the record as well to everyone else, and then kind of go from there.
Councilmember Barrett.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Addressing mental health is so important, yet it's unclear at this time whether promoting the use of psilocybin mushrooms is a good idea, clinically, anecdotally, or otherwise. So I think taking a wait-and-see approach on this is critical before pushing forward, especially in the absence of any input from our community health district and professionals, our law enforcement and medical experts in the field, and our school district. And we need to think about the message we send as a council where we do essentially endorse this, and the impressions we leave on our school children, especially high school teenagers, who watch and participate frequently in our meetings. And candidly, we've got a lot of other very pressing priorities front and center. For us, our staff, and our lobbyists, that we simply don't have the leisure and bandwidth to spend precious time and resources on this at this time. So I'd be in favor of receiving and filing these interesting materials and concluding this discussion for now. Take a wait-and-see approach on how this develops over time and proceeding accordingly. So I'll make a motion to do just that, receive and file these materials, and conclude the discussion for now.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
You want to take public comment first?
Well, no, still get a second.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anyone else? Any member of the council wish to speak before I open it to the public? Okay, with that, any member of the public who wishes to speak to this item? Okay, no one here.
Two. Okay, so Carissa Robinson.
Good evening, members of the City Council. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Carissa Robinson, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist here in Redondo Beach. I'm here tonight to express my strong support for the motion set forth by the council to lobby the state to decriminalize psilocybin. As a mental health professional, I've witnessed firsthand the profound impact of psilocybin-assisted therapy can have on individuals struggling with severe mental health issues. Psilocybin has been shown remarkable promise in treating conditions such as PTSD, complex PTSD, anxiety, trauma, and severe depression, conditions that often resist traditional approaches. In my practice, I've seen clients find relief and healing through psilocybin-assisted therapy after exhausting all other options. The therapeutic benefits are supported by a growing scientific research from institutions like Johns Hopkins University and Imperial College London, demonstrating significant and lasting improvements in mental health. I understand the concern about waiting and seeing or focusing on other pressing issues. However, I must emphasize that for those struggling with severe mental health conditions, this is a pressing issue. Many have already waited far too long for effective treatments. Every day we delay is another day of unnecessary suffering for individuals and families in our community. Decriminalizing psilocybin would reduce stigma, pave the way for more research, and expand access to this potentially life-saving treatment. It's not about unregulated use, but about developing safe, controlled, therapeutic environments under professional guidance. By supporting this decriminalization effort, we're taking a compassionate, evidence-based approach to mental health care. We're acknowledging innovative treatments that can alleviate suffering and improve quality of life for many in our community. I fully support the council's motion to advocate for psilocybin decriminalization at the state level. This isn't just about future possibilities. It's about providing hope and help to those who need it now. We can't afford to wait to when our lives are at stake. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Okay.
There was a second.
So the next person is Joan Irvine.
Joan Irvine, District 1, Mayor, City Council member, city staff, and people who are listening to this. I totally agree that the legalization of psilocybin should be considered. However, I do not feel, with the limited city resources that we have, I feel that once again, we need to be addressing what we are already been talking about as far as with legalizing cannabis. The same type of, you're talking about PTSD, you're talking about depression, alcohol addiction, and opioid addiction. And these are things that cannabis also addresses. Therefore, I would recommend that we put it on hold, not use any of our city resources until we have finalized everything on legalizing cannabis dispensaries and delivery. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
That concludes,
Any e-comments?
no e-comments.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor.
I'll make a substitute motion to receive and file all the documents that Councilmember Babaji and I have made. And by the way, I want to thank Carissa for speaking. That was the most well-said speech on this whole subject. Very succinct, very clean. Thank you. And you hit a couple of really important points real quick. You said, it's not a time to wait, right? Not a time to wait. And there's a phenomenal amount of research there. In fact, all the things I could put in the record here will include that. So I'd make a motion to come back with a resolution to support.
For who to come back with the resolution?
For staff to come back with a resolution. I have examples, resolution here. It's not really much any work for them to do. I can send it out to everyone and with supporting documentation. And yeah, it doesn't have to, we were hoping for May for mental health, but it doesn't have to come back. We can put it on the consent calendar. We can have a discussion item with the full council here and come back. We have a simple resolution to support psilocybin and in Redondo Beach.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
We know staff is swamped. You and Zane can't write it.
I have it right here. I have a simple one done.
That's what, so
How about a friendly amendment to the substitute motion that we come back with a draft resolution that you and I on a subcommittee work on to prepare, supporting the research into psilocybin, the use of psilocybin.
Yeah, that works.
And we put it on.
how about you two just take it and I'll sign it when you're done?
Well, technically to pass resolution, we need 3 votes. It needs to come back to 3 council votes. So it needs to come back to a full council.
Yeah, we sure have to we can't create a resolution tonight. We have to agendize
Provide
it.
this direction with a tie-breaking vote.
Yeah. So I'll amend my motion to include that, so I have Councilmember Baji and I draft the resolution and come back at a later time for the council to consider with and pass with all the applicable studies and information supporting documents.
All right, second that.
It won't take any staff time.
You have a motion and a second. Councilmember Barron, is your hand still up?
No.
Okay, Councilmember Obaji?
Sure, I was just gonna say, this isn't something that takes a lot of staff time. Mental health, as Ms. Robinson pointed out, some people are really struggling with inflation and the like. It's the stigma that we're trying to remove here and the moral support we're trying to extend to say, hey, we see you, we recognize this potential benefit, and we want to use the weight of the city to push our state in the right direction, to apply resources for this research, to advance the science here, to get more knowledge about the benefits, understand better the treatments here, and enhance mental health in the state. So for that research, I support the motion. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Kalajerovich?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I understand that there's been progress with some positive results. Being a parent, I don't make commitments like this, or I don't take them lightly. I just don't feel I have enough information at this time to commit to a resolution. I'm not saying I couldn't later, but I think it's important to get all of that information. I'd like to see where things go at the state level, get more information from the health organizations. I mean, I'd like to hear from the school district, from Beach Cities Health District. I think this short conversation is not enough for me to get to a place that I'm comfortable committing to a resolution. That's it, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other council members before I call the vote? Okay.
Just clarifying, come back in about a month. Is that good for you, Councilmember Nierenheim?
Yeah, we're not, and Councilmember Kalajerovich, we're not asking for that vote now. We'll be sending out a documentation now with part of the item to the clerk's office to be read. And then we'll come back in a month or so from now to go from there. So it's plenty of time to talk to everyone, and we can bring BCHD and the school district down as well, and no staff time, so.
Okay, so I'll call the vote.
Before you do, I'm going to make a substitute to the substitute.
Okay, Councilmember Barron.
So it's going to be my original motion. Receive and file these interesting materials. Conclude the discussion for now. And in the event there is a bill up in Sacramento that's being discussed, that the staff let us know about it at that time.
Okay, do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second, so I'll call the vote on that. Motion, all for?
Aye.
Aye.
All against?
No.
No.
Okay, now to the substitute motion. All for?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
So I'm going to cast a deciding vote on this one, so I will say yes. Based on the fact that it will come back to council, and then hopefully we'll have the full council and all 5 of you can opine on it. It's not approving anything tonight. It's not going to take any staff time. And our 2 council members will come up with a recommendation, and we can revisit that at a future meeting when Councilmember Lowenstein is here.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
So what's the motion that passed?
To come back. And
To receive and
about a month.
file, and then to come back with a draft resolution for the draft.
The only thing I want to make clear that you're in agreement on, his friendly amendment was the resolution, because I don't know what's in the other resolution, was a resolution in support of further research. So, and that will take no time if you come up with that resolution. So, everybody agree? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Sorry. Shuffled my papers wrong. Okay. Councilmember, City Manager Witzinski, we passed your manager items. Did you have any for tonight?
I just wanted to remind everybody that we have a pretty heavy calendar here for the next few weeks. We've got next week's meeting, which will be largely focused on the various charter amendment and ballot questions that'll be posed potentially. We have full meeting agenda. August 6th will be our traditional first meeting of the month with robust discussion items. You'll have commission interviews on the 13th. That will be all that you'll be doing on Tuesday, the 13th, and then we'll have our regular meeting on the 20th. What I'm also proposing tonight, if you would please put a tentative hold on your calendars for, if possible, haven't had a chance to talk to Councilmember Lowenstein yet. I'm hoping he's not traveling. But if you would hold the fourth Tuesday of the month, the 27th, as a possible night for us to conduct strategic planning. I had talked to Eric Douglas about Monday the 12th, Monday the 19th, a couple other dates, and unfortunately there are conflicts with a few of your schedules in that, with those options. So right now, targeting the 27th, but it may very well mean we're going to need to pull somebody else from leading resources other than Eric, because I don't believe he's going to be available that night. But the stars aren't aligning for us to get this thing done with all that's going on with this summer's calendar. So if you would please tentatively hold Tuesday, the 27th. While we won't have a regular council meeting, we would be in these chambers likely in the late afternoon, potentially with a strategic planning workshop, if that works for everybody's personal time. That's all I've got. And let me know offline if it's not the case, please.
Okay, referrals to staff. Councilmember Darren.
I have none today. Thank you.
Councilmember Kalajerovich.
None, thank you.
Councilmember Obaji.
None, thank you.
Councilmember Barrett.
Sorry. I did have a question about the status of a discussion addressing abandoned buildings. Is there an ordinance? There was referral to staff to come up with options for an ordinance that could address those.
Yeah, don't think we have a date certain time frame for that, but if Mike's got calendar that works.
Ms. Ford has completed the initial draft of the staff report. I today asked for some additional information, and we're also awaiting some factual information from code enforcement as to the number of complaints and the number of complainants.
Wonderful, thank you.
So when we have that, it certainly won't be the 30th. I start jury duty on Monday. So I'm not.
You won't get chosen.
I would be
not
very happy
certain.
to discuss this in September.
Okay, that would be perfect because that would be perfect.
And Councilwoman, I do have an update for you on one particular property that you had inquired about. I'll fill you in.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
Sorry. Councilmember Barrett.
None.
Okay, and none from me. Can I get a
right.
motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All for it?
Aye.
All right.
All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you. You can get